Hello guys, this is Panzermeister 36, and today's video I figured I would give you guys a bit of a channel update, a year in review, and also a sneak peek at what's coming very soon. I know some people don't like the channel updates, but I haven't done one in almost a year, so I think it's about time. And because it's already more than a month into the next year, I figured I would take a look back at 2022 and look at all the completed projects, and that's going to be very easy because I only actually finished one kit last year. And that kit is, of course, the M10 2C Achilles tank destroyer that I built for the Plastic Posse podcast group build. This was a Tamiya kit that I upgraded heavily, and I did a full video on the upgrading and a full video on the weathering. And it was the only kit I actually finished last year. Now, I'm very pleased with it, though I did kind of streamline the process maybe a little bit more than I usually would. But that definitely taught me some lessons on what are the critical weathering aspects for sure. If you want to know more about this, I'll link the video in the top corner for you guys to see the painting and weathering. Just some basic two-tone chipping and oils and so on. It came looking good. I'm happy with it. And also I'm happy that I've finally done a Canadian vehicle. This is a Canadian vehicle at the end of the war in Italy. So a fun project, but I kind of wish I'd done more, finished more projects. Looking back at my videos from 2022, I did a lot of post-build reviews. I built maybe even a dozen kits, but I was just in a building mood, I guess. I built a lot of things, but then I would finish the build and I would just move on to the next thing. I didn't actually do much painting and weathering. I want to do more of that this year because that's my favorite thing in the hobbies, painting and weathering stuff, and I also really enjoy making tutorials on that for you guys. So let's take a look at some projects that are in the works and that I will actually give you guys some painting and weathering videos on soon. So first of all, here is the Ryfield model Panzer 4 that I recently built and did the post-build review on, and this is an excellent kit. This and the Ryfield Stug that I built last year are the two best kits I've probably ever built. They are fantastic. Everything fits, and the detail is, it's just amazing how well and crisp they can mold the welds and the rivets and everything like that. It's really, really good. So Ryfield model is definitely my new favorite brand. So this is a vehicle in Normandy based on some photographs that I found, and it is quite an interesting vehicle in that it was first a Panzer layer vehicle, so it had some markings on it, and I've actually found a photo of it during its time in the Panzer layer. And then it was shipped over to a different unit in Normandy and actually kind of messily painted over the markings, and then they reapplied new markings. And I just found that really interesting how there's like a two layers of markings on there, and the original 331 is painted over very sloppily. So I built the Ryfield model kit that I had in my stash and modified it to model that vehicle. And as you can see, I'm at the point now where I've done camouflage and I've also done most of the chipping. But I spent a long time on that because my goal with this model was to experiment with keeping the chipping very light, but by that I mean the light color of the two-tone chipping effects. Usually when we do the chipping, we will, you paint the lighter base color, so in this case it'd be like a light buff, and you can see that definitely around the hatchet here. And then you go in with like a red primer, and then you just kind of make primer or metal scrapes inside those lighter chips. And the lighter chip simulates the exposed edge of the paint, and then the red primer shows like the underlying color. But looking at vehicles, mainly reenactor vehicles that are, basically used as if they were in the war, people are climbing all over them with original gear and their hobnail boots are scraping the crap out of it. You see a lot of light scrapes and scratches, but not a lot of red primer chipping. So what I want to do in this model is replicate that and see how it looks in the end. So I've done a lot of the lighter chipping and scratches and scrapes just to simulate where the guys with their hobnail boots would just scrape the crap out of the vehicle. And I've done it everywhere except for a few spots because I still need to film some of it. So nothing on the cupola, nothing over here for the driver and so on, but you can definitely see the effect, and it looks really good. I'm gonna do some red primer chipping, of course, around the hatches, but I'm curious as to see how realistic this looks at the end and when I've done the washes and everything else. Now, as you can see, I'm making good progress on this kit, but I'm gonna have to put it aside for a little while because I'm gonna have to make some custom stencils or something for the numbers, the 612, and I'm not sure how to do that. One option is to buy the upcoming Mini Art kit, which actually has this vehicle as a marking option, and then just use the decals from that, or something like that. I don't know. All right, vehicle number 2 is this Panzer 3N. This is a Dragon kit that I've modified quite extensively to make it a Panzer 3N, because originally this was a late J, early L, and then I actually found a cool photograph of one of those vehicles that had been converted into an N, because about a third of the Ausf N, which is the last version with the short 75, about a third of them were actually using rebuilt earlier chassis, and this is the only one I'd seen with tropical engine deck configuration and side vision ports. So I figured, that was kind of interesting, so I'm going to do this as a vehicle in Africa, and it's a 501st Heavy Panzer Abteilung there, which is quite iconic with the sandbags that they put all over the vehicle, and also just the stowage look on the rear is very Panzer III in Africa distinctive, having this kind of rack on the back with a bunch of wood planks, and then just boxes and jerry cans and tarps everywhere. So I want to talk about 2 things on this vehicle. First of all, the Panzer Art sandbags set. Now, I usually love Panzer Art, but this is going to be a not love Panzer Art. This is the set I bought. As you can see, it comes with sandbags for the turret, and then sandbags for the hull, and a couple of sandbags that kind of go on the top of the hull there. Those sandbags they show on the top of the hull aren't in the box, they just don't exist, which kind of sucks because that's quite cool looking. Sandbag piece in the turret fits perfectly, it's just like one big block, and it just like basically snaps into place there. It's perfect. Sandbags in the hull do not fit at all, and I actually just completely could not use that piece, because if you look closely, when they built this to model the Master on, basically, they actually mounted the Zusatz plate at the wrong angle. So therefore, this whole set will only fit if you build your Panzer III incorrectly, which I did not, because I didn't notice this until I tried to put it on, and it just doesn't fit, because essentially this front plate, which you can see is angled back slightly, they've mounted it completely vertically. So the entire big block of resin sandbags doesn't actually fit, because its back is like that, but it should be like that. And also it was slightly too wide somehow, and it just like, I tried sanding and scraping and trying to get the angles right, and it just would not happen. So what I decided to do was, and honestly this is a lot of sandbags, and if you look at the vehicles, they don't have that much. So what I decided to do was, I basically carved out individual sandbags, just a couple, and I just put them on the front here. And it looks pretty good, it looks more like the vehicles where they have just a couple of sandbags, and it'll do. But it kind of sucks that this set doesn't even fit the vehicle that they show. Now, someone on my Facebook posted that they actually fit this on an Ausf H or G, which has a different style of bolted plate there, which is closer to the hull, and it is at a different angle. So that actually fits. But like, that's not what they show here. What they show here is exactly the same as my vehicle, just they built it wrong, so it only fits if you build your tank wrong. So the second thing I want to talk about is, I've done a video on this vehicle. I did a video on my usual upgrades to the detail level on vehicles, which is basically adding things like the conduit wires for the headlights, replacing the tool clamps with photo etch and resin, 3D printed accessories, and so on, and adding stowage. So it's just a kind of quick video on simple upgrades to the vehicle to make it look more lived in and up to detail, without adding a huge amount of like crazy stuff. I'm just using like bits and bobs from a bunch of sets that I have just sitting around, and it really increases the level of detail on the vehicle. Now the stowage especially I'm very pleased with. This is the first time I've actually done a large amount of stowage on a vehicle. The last time I did this was probably my previous Panzer III, which I built with Helgar Barkas. That was an Ausf H, and it was a great fun time. I did some stowage on that vehicle, kind of similar to this, but on this vehicle I scratch built the entire rack there, and then I made the wooden planks, and then I basically just found a bunch of jerry cans and boxes and spare wheels and all that crap, piled it on based on some reference photos, and then I actually added some tarps, and this is with the VMS paper shaper, and it's really, really good actually. So I hope you guys will look forward to that video. Photos of these vehicles, of this unit in Africa, they have these helmets around the smoke launchers on the vehicle, I guess to protect the kind of like the wiring stuff at the rear possibly, or something like that. So it's quite a iconic look of this unit, along with the stowage rack and everything. So I have the little helmets tied around the smoke launchers. It's kind of cool. Another thing to look forward to is I will, sometime this year, probably before April, I will finally paint my Panzer IV L70 because Tamiya has released a kit of this. It looks pretty good, and Border Model is also going to be releasing one soon that might have a full interior. I forget. But since it's topical, I guess I can do a painting and weathering and camouflage painting video on this vehicle, and that might help some people because I imagine there will be a lot of people building Panzer IV L70s in the coming months because the Tamiya kit comes out in April. So that might give me the mojo to wrap up this guy. And it's cool because you can do some late war factory hard edge camouflages, and there's also ambush camouflages on these vehicles. This is, by the way, the Dragon late kit, so it's got a little different features than the Tamiya one, but same base vehicle. Alrighty, so here's an interesting project. I threw this together in like 5 days. This is a Dragon Panzer 38T that I've modified into a Panzerbefehlswagen armored command tank 38T. And this vehicle has a full interior for the fighting compartment, and then I've also gone and wired up the radios and everything that I've added to make it the command version. It's still in pieces because there's all the ammo racks and stuff that go inside, the chairs and everything. Full interiors take a lot of time, and you have to kind of build it more like an aircraft where you build it in stages and paint, and then you put more together and paint. And I don't do full interiors very often, but this is a small vehicle, so it probably won't burn me out. I have the 3D printed tracks here from ET Model that look pretty good. So based on my reference photos, I've added a little bin here, and then I've also made it the command version, which has a plugged machine gun here because the bow gunner is now a radio operator. And then most importantly has the big frame antenna. And as you can see, the frame antenna and the plugged machine gun are a different color because they are actually from a TriStar kit, which I don't have, but Hamilcar Barkas in Germany had these spare parts left over, and he graciously sent them along to me so I can make my cool command vehicle. So yeah, this actually has the full interior, which might fall apart. No? Okay. So I'm going to do a video on painting the interior for sure on this vehicle because it's going to be quite interesting. And I can also do a lot of work on the radios, which I already spent a lot of time wiring up. They're pretty cool. So we'll have that, definitely interior painting, and then I also probably do like a Panzer Gray video because it's been a few years since I've done the pure Panzer Gray finish. So that'll be quite interesting, and I look forward to this. I like the 38T, and actually after I built this kit, I remembered just how great the Dragon 38Ts are. They are basically like flawless, apart from the fender kink angle is arguably wrong, but I just kind of bent it. So actually I've bought a couple more 38Ts since then. I bought a Grille artillery gun and the Aufklärungspanzer, basically this with an SDK 222 turret. And I also have another 38T vehicle in my stash, so I've definitely increased the 38Ts in my collection, but I just love them. I love the look of this vehicle. And now for something that's not a Panzer, I have two T-34s that are essentially this level of completion, which is, I'd say, 95%. So this is a T-34-57, which are a prototype series of essentially tank destroyers that had the high velocity Ziz 4 gun. It was a 57 instead of the 76. There's like 10 of these vehicles made, and they were used in one unit in one battle, and they kind of didn't do a great job, but they're very cool, and I've modified the Dragon kit here to model that type of vehicle, and I've got the Panzer gun, which hopefully will be better than the Panzer sandbag set. And this thing is entirely done, and there's a whole video I've already filmed like 2 years ago on this thing. The only thing left is I have to do the cast texture on the bow machine gun and film that. I have to fix the welds because the Dragon kit has some gaps around the turret welds, so I have to basically putty those up and then redo the welds. And then I also have to put the tracks on. I've got some MSD tracks because when I built this thing, no one else made those tracks. But now there's 3D printed options for it. So this thing is sat for at least 2 years, maybe even 3 at this point, because I just didn't have the motivation to redo the welds because I'm not night shift and I can't do welds well. But I got some resin weld decals from Archer before they closed down, so I can actually use that to fix the turret. And then I can also finish the other one, because I basically did this, got burned out when I had to fix the turret welds, and I'm like, whatever. And I started another one, which is like a Stalingrad factory one, which is also pretty cool. And it's at the same point. I had to fix the turret welds, and I got burned out again. So I bought the weld decals, and I can just fix them both at the same time. And then I'll have a cool video, because I've done a full build on this guy already. It's filmed and edited. I just have to do like the last couple of parts and then finish the video. I'm very motivated now to paint and weather stuff, because basically the whole last year, the whole first half of the year I was really burned out. I was working on some model railroad stuff, just kind of here and there, but I wasn't really in the mood to model for some reason. You know, it comes and goes. And then what really gave me the motivation was going to the IPMS Nationals in Omaha, Nebraska in August. Never been to a Nationals before, and we had, because of COVID, not really any modeling shows here for 3 years. So, you know, I was just feeling really burned out, and going to the Nats, which is the biggest modeling show I'd ever been to, of course, gave me so much motivation. I met so many cool people. I met a lot of people who are fans of the channel and introduced themselves, and I was amazed at how many people know me. I know, because I'm like a Z-tier celebrity on the internet. To me, it doesn't feel real, but when people are like, oh, I love your stuff, and a lot of people say that, it means a lot to me, and it makes me motivated to make more videos. So I enjoyed meeting everybody there, and I enjoyed hanging out with some buddies, especially the gang from the Plastic Model Mojo Podcast. I've actually been on their podcast, I think, about 4 times last year. I'll give a link in the corner for you guys. I recommend it. It's a great podcast to listen to while you're just working on the bench. And those guys are great to hang out with. And I look forward to meeting them again in a couple of months at HeritageCon, because suddenly this year we're going to have a bunch of modeling shows again in Canada. So we got HeritageCon in the end of March, which I will be at. I will also be at the Nats in Texas again in August. And then also in October we have the Ottawa show here in Ottawa, Canada, the local show, which, you know, this is amazing. I got three modeling shows in a year. That's a lot for me. So I'm really excited, and I look forward to meeting some of you guys at the show. Now, quickly, at HeritageCon, which is in like 6 or 7 weeks, they've asked me to do a seminar on weathering, and I probably will do it on this vehicle here. Actually, it's going to be a live demo. I'll be there with a vehicle that I'll have done some work on, and I'll just do a couple of maybe I'll do the chipping on the turret, and then I've already done the chipping on the hull, so then I'll go to the hull and do like a wash or something. But I want to know exactly what you guys want to see, because like I can just show random stuff, but if you guys really want to see some specific techniques, I can tailor that and focus on that in the demo, because I'm actually going to be showing some photographs, but I'm going to be doing a lot of it live, and there'll be a camera on a screen, so you'll be able to see it well if you're intending in person. So if there's anything you want to see me do on whatever tank I pick, probably this one, but maybe my Panzer IV, let me know in the comments below, because I want to make sure that, you know, you guys enjoy, if you're going to be there, I guess, that you guys enjoy the demo. So that's about it for this channel update. As you can see, we have a number of projects in the go. As usual, a bunch of Panzers, but I have a couple of T-34s that will be coming soon, and I'll make sure I do a weathering Russian armor on one of those. And I also want to do another Canadian vehicle this year. Probably a Sherman, but I really enjoyed the Canadian vehicle, and I bought a lot of decals for Canadian vehicles when Archer was going out of business, so I want to find a cool Canadian Sherman and do that this year as well. So that's something to look forward to. And I'll do a little bit more experimentation. This was the first time I'd done a olive drab SSC 15 olive drab vehicle, so I was very careful, but I really enjoyed the results. So next time I'll take it one step further, and I'll go a little crazy on a Sherman, maybe give it some track armor everywhere. I know I did that here, but if you've ever seen a Canadian Sherman, yeah, that's track armor, like Panther tracks all over the turret of a Sherman. The Canadians love their track armor, probably because they didn't have patent to slap their tankers if they put it on. If you have any questions or comments, or want to see specific things on any of the kits that I was talking about here, let me know. And request for HeritageCon, when I do my live demo there, please let me know as well. If you guys like my content, you can support me on Patreon, and that really helps me buying the paints and products, and also the 3D printed tracks that I've been amassing for my part 2 of the 3D printed track review, which will be as soon as possible. There's only one set of tracks still in the mail, and then we will have the conclusion to the 20 plus brands of 3D printed tracks that exist. So look forward to that. Look forward to painting and weathering tutorials. Not many build reviews because I've already built everything as you saw last year. And hopefully we can have a much more productive 2023. As always, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye and happy modeling.